Hello everybody, my name is Troublemaker. Wargame AirLand Battles, first major tournament, Clash of the Clans 2, 4v4 tournament. Today, pretty awesome match. We have basically the first match on our channel that's actually from round 2. So, representing the color blue, and also playing as NATO, we have the WTF FTW team. And playing as Pact, we have WUT, which could be the love child of Little John. What? And representing our WTF for the win, we have Anoka, Rebar, Tomos, Kamiya, and Thief55. As I said in the previous video, individually, each one of these people are top players in the game. Every single one of them are. Thief55 won the Wargame Cup. Anoka was top on the ladder for a while. Rebar was top 16. Tomos Kamiya was top of the ladder for quite some time. Still probably is top 5, if not number 1. And hard challenge for Team WUT, represented by Captains, Zukodim, Trusty, and Tershak. And this is also the first time where people all have names that are easily pronounceable. Interesting to see. So this is going to be Conquest, Team Conquest, which means steady flow of income. The points are all just to indicate what bases each person is going to get as far as the scoreboard goes. Nothing to do with how much money they get. And this map obviously has a pretty sizable imbalance in it. And it's very obvious right off the bat. We have Golf, which leads much closer to Foxtrot than Lima does. Then there's India, which of course, can be cut off by Golf. Golf is on an island by itself, while Juliet is on the mainland, completely open to attacks. Golf is much easier to defend because of nice little things like these ridges. Good ridges. And you look over here, Nepal ridges in the base are actually out here along the edge here. So small imbalances that will in fact favor the pack players quite a bit. And we have how many equal opportunity bases here? We have a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4. We have 5 bases total that are going to be split up pretty evenly amongst the players. So do they at least have 5 commands? That's a good question. From Team WTF FTW, we have 1, 2. We have a 3 and a 4. So it looks like they're missing 1 so far. And from WUT, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, they're both each going about 1 person per command vehicle, and it's kind of a weird little thing. If you have 1 more command than your opponent, you can get a very powerful early lead. If you don't have enough troops, however, and you lose positions because you're invested in that command, well, then suddenly you lose the end game. So this map should split off relatively simply. Most players will want to grab their 2-point bases, of course, Delta and Hotel. It's probably going to happen that both players will want to grab Charlie and India, because those are very close reinforcement points. And they'll probably also want to grab Juliet and Golf, which are, once again, reinforcement points into the middle. Alpha and Lima should be some late ones, but we'll have to see what they have in mind here, as immediately our WTF FTW clan is deploying a ridiculous number of air fighters. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And here comes some MiGs interceptors here trying to soften up the targets. And Mirage will in fact get some bombs off, though. Once again, this is becoming pretty standard in team play from the top teams. They're going to napalm a small area that will give them a small advantage in the lead up into the attack. And oh my god, 1 air superior player will not go down. The other one will get away. And I remember, it must have been 6 months ago, I talked to Anoka about what he's doing in 4v4, because I don't do a lot of 4v4s, obviously. And he said that really it's all about air superiority. If you have more jet fighters in the sky than him, then they can lose very quickly. And it's even more true in this style of play right now, where it doesn't matter how much you lose. it matters what positions you gain. Right off the bat, they're going to get the very early game advantage, securing this middle location. Got Delta forces in there, and this first little group of BTR 60 PBs should have little to no impact. They are going to move in through the fire. This is kind of the questionable thing. Are they going to keep doing this? Oh my god, they are. And there's actually a hog here, which is providing some good old-fashioned stun damage, which could stun them in the fire. They are going to take some fire damage as they run into the Delta Force. And oh, there goes 2. That's 20 of the infantry vehicles, VDVs. And Moto Strelkies are going to get dropped on top of the Delta Force as the Yaugers catch up and get into location. And there, in fact, is going to be another little bomb going to be dropped here. Gets shot down, however, lots of Tunguskas in location. There's lots of tanks as well, and this is going to be a little bit of a fight from the middle location. And as we can see, actually, one more base coming out for WUT, who are a little bit lucky right now, because they're currently +3, and all bases not being deployed here for WTF for the win. They're in a little bit of trouble here. Now, note, they did in fact take all the bases that we suspected they would, and looks like this little bit of Ranger action could get caught, possibly. It is a red Dedikas. It should be able to see this, and the Rangers may be able to creep by. Hard to see. Buratino going to unload, and oh dear god. Using the Buratino for a napalm feature, going to burn all these men alive as they move in their tanks from the top flank here with some anti-infantry vehicles coming into support. Might be able to clear most of this, as a lot of them are actually not anchored into the towns. Most of these guys are actually moving away to try and get out of this massive fire zone. The Yaugers, of course, are just going to sit in it because they're badasses, I guess, and that's how they roll. And, may not be the encounter he wants. Actually losing T-72s left and right here. And we're going to call from Anoka, calling for some support because this is a big problematic situation right now. Might need to get some bombers in here to help deal with these tanks, as these Delta Force are literally frying apart. They are trading quite well with these tanks, seeing as they kill 1 and infantry are worth nothing. But if they lose the central position, they're in so much trouble. Currently +2 on the scoreboard here for WUT. The top flank here is just starting to ignite as well. We have both players actually deciding to opt to take this 1-point base here, and actually not going to grab the 2-point base. That's actually shocking. 110% shocking that our WTF FTW clan is not going for that 2-point base. They may be trying to win this on position and killing and tactics, and this may become a much longer game. It's hard to see exactly what they're planning to do right now. We had Noka doing his napalming here with his, or not napalm, Laris 2 doing his rocket barrage here, able to stun a lot of targets in place, and is actually shying off a lot of these tanks. All the while, this middle location is still belonging to WTF for to win. They still have position, which is huge, but they just don't have the commands on the map right now. They're just continuing to pump out the infantry carriers. And now we finally see the 2-point base has finally been taken by Rebar, but 1/6 of the points in score. So obviously the onus right now is on WUT to actually make the move. WTF for the win has in fact taken the central location, and they have it very well fortified. Lots of infantry here, some vehicles, not much tank for support, and actually not much AT support. But they do have stuff in the area, like I know because little Leopard 2A4 here is. And that is just not good. Wait, Zudokim, why are you flagging to attack the command here? That's weird. That's your command. That's just weird. He's flagging to attack his own command. Why? Oh well. You can see some Yaugers going to go and clean up some Radovedzko squad, provide that very important optics, which of course is necessary for clearing out these tanks and whatnot. And we're seeing some Moto Strelkies going to try and creep across here to corner these Jaegers, as Spetsnaz will also be joining in for a little bit of spotting action. Once again, going to go ahead and do this napalm again. It was quite effective the first time. It's quite effective the second time. And Moto Strelkies firing against Delta forces. Advantage, of course, will go to the Delta force because they're in a town. Even though they're on fire right now, they're still in a better position than these Moto Strelkies in the woods. VDV is also trying to join in. Once again, the in the woods Jaegers did in fact go down. Oh, God, all this fire is so good. I'm sure this will become very much standard as bombers are becoming very cost ineffective. This kind of play here might come with more, like with using Buratinos for napalm instead of for their normal rockets. That might just become the new standard of play just because it's so good. And it's so cost effective compared to sacrificing a bomber. And actually, Jaegers trying to fend off these woods. And oh, here comes the rockets. Once again, getting some pretty good stuns here. One stun gets 2 stuns. Doesn't get any of the tanks though. But all the infantry are cleared out, and so the tank should try and back off. There's still a BMP-3 here, launching some tank destroyer stuff at this infantry. Not sure if this is really the best option for this particular situation. And things have basically cooled off right now. People have moved to their flanks, and it shouldn't be too long before WTF FTW starts thinking about putting some commands in this space and this space, because they basically have them very secure right now, and there is a big giant ball of units here, and the trades have been roughly equal. It's just there's a better position. And will this MI2 go away? Will it die to a ranger squad? I believe it will. So much for cost-effective trades here, as the MI2 barely squirreling away there with 1 hit point left over. He's all bruised and battered. And if you're wondering what this isn't camo. This is oil. Oil spilling. And that's never good. And yeah, I think we have a pretty strong suit here for WTF for the win. Realistically, all they need to do is put up some defensive positions, lots of tanks, lots of AT, and every single town being constantly reinforced with infantry, and they'll be able to move in more of these command vehicles and get ahead on the points. Now we're going to see the first one go ahead move here. It isn't going to be a tank command, as we're seeing from a lot of top teams. It's going to be a tank jeep, the Itzels Kudrow, cheapest of the cheapest. And here comes a pretty big push, actually, just using these tanks to try and pick off any hit points they can. Not really succeeding in that front. There are some Jaegers here, which are completely eluding this group of tanks here, and finally caught. Gets 1 stun point before he decides, I am moving away and letting other people deal with it. Okay. Because the randomness chance of an infantry killing a tank is just so super high. Here comes some Super Nintendos. I know that's not what they're called, but they're now the Super Nintendo. And able to get their payload off, but not really able to do any of the damages. They got 1 hit point left on the single T-64, as we're going to see some pretty crazy fire here, as P-55, known as a master of micro, is in fact going to go all the way across the bridge. He's got some Martyr Roll and 2 supporting here. Yak is actually going to come in and try and do some napalm on this forward location here, which will separate the tank count and will mean this is going to be a disastrous push here for P-55. He's only got 6 across. 2 of them long range will be able to fire, but not so hot. And this is almost seemingly one of the worst plays we've seen from FIFA in a while. We have tanks in all directions surrounding these Shermans, as they will surely have to fall apart. This ridge here is just absolutely brutal to deal with. The T-80, or no, it wasn't a T-80, that's ridiculous. They don't have T-80s in the NATO force. The Leopard 2 completely decimated by T-72s and T-64s, as the Sheridan's actually able to get across, and if they continue moving up this path here, could be in striking position. Now keep in mind, one of the commands here was removed, so there's now a +2 advantage here, as well 1 command here, so that's a pretty big effect. And the Sheridans are in fact going to go ahead across, and this is something that even I didn't know about. If you can get them across this bridge, they're free to travel. They actually kill a helicopter. That's how bad this is going. T-64s getting some side shots on this BTR-60PB. Not the target they want to go after. They want to go after this T-64, of course, as trying to do a little bit of micro back, but oh, loses a tank. And realizing this is a bad idea, it's moving to this bad location, and Anoka leaves the game. That's not good. It is now a 4v3 in favor of WUT, as now we're seeing things might fall apart for WTF for the win. They might be kicked out to the losers bracket, which is not something anyone particularly saw. Note he pulled these tanks back just so he can kind of kill this vehicle without being shot at by these tanks. Now the M11P, or IIP, Abrams coming in, superior armor power, is going to lead the charge, and then he's going to bring in these Sheridans, which of course have no armor after the fact. And yes, able to clear at this location. There is a helicopter here, knocked out immediately by a Chaparral, which of course is drained of its AA rockets, all because of that one vehicle. And now FIFA is in a position to actually secure this location and put in a command of his own. And that is actually exactly what he's doing. He actually planned this so perfectly. He had the command come out at the precise time that he knew this would be secure. Now this is a really awkward location that he's taking right here, because as long as he can put it in this little corner here. It's not going to be entirely visible because of the ridges, and anything that comes in to take it will funnel into a row of tank death. And he's actually going to go ahead and throw some flares up here, some smoke, so that he can actually get his command across without having it fired on by 8 T-rockets. And now it signals off the mass mortars. He just realized, like, I've got to mortar this AA right away. That's going to be a problem. And yes, he does in fact take the location. He's going to move his tanks up a little bit further and try to get rid of some of this resistance. He wants to get at these mortars, of course, and this gives him a reinforcement point. That's huge! That means he'll be able to reinforce from this forward Gulf location. He has been holding out, and he's going to get a flank coming in from behind. That, of course, will take out all the stuff here. He'll be able to spot everything right away, and, ooh, helicopter knocks out a tank and an infantry. He's probably going to instantly just rally in some AA, and that's what he does. Chaparral's coming out. Very, very intelligent play here by PewDiePie. Something I've often underestimated this guy for doing new, innovative stuff here, as he's just been playing the map like a fool. Now we do see there's going to be some last-minute mortars being fired here before the obvious untimely death of this thing. Now this has been spotted, the rover, and it is getting some good focus shots on. It's taken 2 shots so far. If we can get some tanks in here to get rid of this in time, it might not do much more damage. Call for defense here. They did lose their command here at the Echo base. They need to move another command here, of course. They're still +2, all because of the Gulf acquisition. And of course, with these chaparrals in the air, in the zone, they shouldn't have too much to worry about from these bombers. Does get a good hit off, and ooh, I spoke way too soon. Way too soon. Actually, was able to get his payload off, able to kill that command vehicle, and now Fiva's probably going to have to get another command in there. Now, keep in mind, he does have all these very forward position tanks completely isolated as T-72 BI, and there are some tanks in the woods here, but right now they're kind of useless. Useless because if they actually move out, and by tanks I mean one tank, the T-80U, if it was actually to move out, it will get fired on, and it's an expensive tank. That's really a fine cut point here. And some chaparrals moving into the T-72 and not getting fired on. Kind of weird. There might be some blind spot here. I don't know. Buratino going to go ahead and fire some napalm in this location. Gets 1 tank caught in it, and looks like Viva's going to go ahead and move ahead with his tanks, as this flank is pretty well negated in the game, because he has to clean up this woods location in order to secure the rest of this point now. And clearly it's been shown that his opponent is willing to throw away bombers in a very non-strategic way to get rid of the location. But oh my god, Viva's going to go ahead and try it anyway. He's calling in for an attack here, captains. I wonder why. Maybe it's because another rover showed up. And, I mean, these guys are very aggressive. Note, Rebar is moving up with some of his tanks. Thief is moving up with some of the tanks. There's no real air support here, however, so that's pretty bad. They're cut off by the napalm. And he might be overextending just a little tiny, tinsy bit. Of course, these very heavy armored tanks will take a lot more shots than these cheapy Sheridans. And, oh my god, he's actually found the UAZ. That just happened here. UAZ will go down for freezies, and nothing that can be done here. Rebar providing the adequate distraction here with his super expensive tanks, and this thing is just not going down. I mean, when people say that the Sheridan is not a very good tank, they're not lying. It's an unarmored Jeep, and they can't kill it in a single shot. That's embarrassing. Speaking of which, we have a pretty sizable push here. It's a massive combined arms push here. We're seeing infantry rolling out the front, trying to grab these bases here in the middle. In the front here, sorry. Tanks moving in, and simultaneously they grab this point with a command armor. This has slowed the leak quite a bit. This once again comes into the fact that there is a criminal advantage here for WUT in that one of the members of WTF FTW is now gone, and someone else controlling his forces, definitely taking advantage of the situation by grabbing this base. However, WTF FTW have grabbed the middle base, and they now have the Gulf base, so things are not what they seem, it seems. And look at this weirdness here. He's actually rallying in Jaegers to the front ground. This might just be a little bit too much of this Wargame European escalation style in which infantry did really well in the open, but hello, he also has tanks firing on the T-72. And the T-72 is actually about to die, so maybe this isn't so silly after all. The command here once again destroyed by artillery fire. Kind of awkward. And This is getting a little bit brutal. He's throwing away commands left and right just to get a few more ticks of points. It's really hard to decide whether that's really smart because each one of those commands is another big tank or 10 small tanks, whichever way you want to look at this. There is playing the objective, but there's also throwing the game away. In fact, he's actually pulling back his tanks, doesn't want to lose too many of them, and he's going to restock them and try another push. Speaking of which, this has been total domination. They've completely grabbed this position here, and now we're seeing some artillery fire being used here to try and dwindle down these infantry numbers. Gets one stun and no real damage done, however, so that's kind of problematic for them. And oh my god, these napalms have been so good the entire game, just being super, super good. Whittling down these infantry's cost effectiveness, but unfortunately the follow-up has just not been as good, only bringing in small groups of infantry to deal with large groups of infantry, and that just unfortunately doesn't cut it. Not when you're doing a tournament in which you're attracting the best players, and the VDV squad pulling back, but just not in time, maybe. Dead. US Marines almost dead. That's how big the advantage of the middle here is. They were able to actually beat a VDV squad despite sitting in fire. And just really not enough coming out here. We do see a lot of tanks, but there need to be some infantries and some infantry vehicles to help support this. And it's actually a pretty good flank, all things aside. But these smoke flares here were really, really good. I'm assuming that WTF FTW put these in place, because I would not put these in place if I was WUT. And actually using them to force TA to use, get too close for comfort. Trying to whittle away these numbers. Some of these are falling. There is a Yager that could fall very easily here. US Marines and Yagers all about to fall. And once again, more US Marines. Once again, about to fall. Actually, those ones are out of ammunition. That's a different problem altogether. That's just being too cost effective. And middle location still looks like it's going to be WTF FTW for quite a while. They're not really rallying out more infantry, though, which could signal a possible downfall. Speaking of which, this just happened. A Chieftain Mark 10 command. This is the kind of bad boy we were talking about of command vehicles. This is a guy who just doesn't want to die to artillery at all. And now we're noting a much better defense position. Anti-tank gun Milans. This is the highway of death we're talking about. If you enter this highway, you will get killed by very, very cheap tanks and AT. And there's actually a Seahawk patrolling overboard as well from Viva. Just using that micro to his best ability. He's got infantry coming in here, napalm the area, and now he's going to run infantry in. Maybe this is not the power combination he was looking for. Is the fire on the road? Are roads burning right now? In fact, roads are burning right now and actually burning his own men alive. So that's odd. That's really odd. And actually, it's such a weird position too. The tank died, by the way. That's unfortunate. It's a weird position to be in for red, because as long as the tank is held back here, any kind of push they come through here is immediately met with a flanking maneuver. It's really, really awkward and really hard to push. It's becoming hard for them to keep doing this. It's currently being very cost effective, however, but they are throwing away vehicles. There's no veterancy being gained here today. These are just vehicles who they realize they're going to die, and they're trying to do as much damage as possible. Will he be able to get this small group of Rangers? And of course, if you are an American Ranger, you always make sure to stand in a complete circle. Complete circle is the standard Ranger formation. I've watched Black Hawk Down at least 1,000,000 times, and the Rangers in that were actually just running through the city in a circle. And whenever they had to deal with people, they actually just continued running in a circle and pushed them out of the way. That's how badass Rangers are. They're circle fighters. Middle is starting to look pretty gruesome, and more infantry getting rallied in here by Thomas Camilla, but it's just not looking very good. There's only one Jago Commando here, which is kind of an AT type, if I remember correctly. The Milan on it. No real hard-hitting infantry. They need to get something really good, like a Chasseurs or even Delta Force, or one of these nice commands. And there we go, some 60 U.S. Marines. Of course, the U.S. Marines are not the best soldiers in the world, but dear God, they are cost effective. You get 15 can fit into a small vehicle that would only fit 10 Delta people. Kind of tells you the way of the world, doesn't it? And more napalm being used here, frying apart these infantry. Soon this zone will become super, super cost ineffective for FTW. That's not their name. WTF FTW. That reflexive name really screws me over. More T-72s coming in here, just going to pick off some infantry wherever they can. and hopefully move back. There's been a lot of suicide tactics here. Suicide tactics kill commands. Which, yes, they have been working. They've been working very well, but I just don't appreciate it. That's all. And so, yeah. This is pretty well stalemated. We're just going to skip a little bit until we see some crazy maneuvers here. A Super Nintendo is actually going to go ahead and drop a bomb on the T-72, of course. And, yeah, it's just the same kind of stuff. A small fight for the middle here. And this is something that actually Trusty, of all people, can do very good. He's been moving up some tanks, using them to support, and then moving in his Motostrelki. Like, that's pretty good. That's really good. And this could actually be a pretty pivotal point right here, because we might see our first packed infantry actually able to break the middle mold. Haven't seen that all game. One bomb does go off, napalms on the Motostrelkis, and this is kind of a brutal defensive play that's been giving WTF FTW the middle victory here. Motostrelkis completely almost wiped out, but keep in mind there's only one U.S. Marine left here. The Motostrelkis might be able to take their spot. Yes, they will. If the Yaugers want to do this, they can actually do a jump into this vehicle to block the Motostrelkis from going there. And Motostrelkis are in fact in the base, and this is kind of the beginning of the end for WTF FTW. Never have they ever lost these towns to the entire game. And now finally, one Motostrelki has broken the mold. Immediately this signals the tanks to move up into a flanking maneuver to try and add a little bit of support, picking off some of these infantry from back. Once again, napalm on the middle location. This forces a little bit of building jumping here from Tomoskimiya, who is trying to get his Yaugers as far away from this fire as possible. He moves them straight up to the front, which also gives him a flanking maneuver on the Motostrelkis. Now the T-72s are being pulled back, mostly out of ammunition. And by mostly I mean completely. And these Motostrelkis should die. They do get one Yauger squad, which is not too bad. And there's another Motostrelki squad coming from the side here. Doesn't really have a point of entry, however. I mean, realistically, if they want to get in, they need to get in through this base here. It's the only base that's really open. And that will not be an easy target. In fact, these Motostrelkis will also kill the Jaegers because of the ridiculous amount of support coming from here. 20 VDVs. Which should be rushing forward to try and grab this base, in which they have just begun. Assault engineers versus VDVs as well. And really, another command here. Are you kidding me? Yes, we have another commander from Viva, and he's putting as much smoke there as possible because he realizes, just like everyone else, this is not the best place. He's trying to play the objective, it seems. And we see a fire position command here from a helicopter, easily takes that out. And now we see the +1 has actually shifted. Things are going wrong. WUT is in fact winning this match, oddly enough. They've taken out this middle base. They have captured this 1-point base here, and they have taken this base here. This is not going well. They finally have an infantry position. There is now 20 Jaegers reinforcing, and they'll might be able to break this position out and finally get a command back in here. But is it too late for WTF FTW? Is that the case? I was drinking Coca-Cola. I know it's an evil corporation, but I do it anyway. Speaking of which, a Leopard 2A4, insanely long distance, picking up these cheap tanks, 2 T-72s coming out, and actually a call from Tershak to say, we kill it good, as these cheapy tanks adding a little bit of damage as more tanks coming up to trying to wipe it out. There's a command moving as well, and this is kind of one of these weird points where Pivas might be throwing away too many commands for too few points. Actually got the move fast command on this Jeep, and you can see these things move crazy fast here. And able to get in the smoke. This is going to cause all the tanks to move up and immediately try to attack it. The Leopard 2A4 is optical failure, weapons jam, firing. Everything's going wrong for that tank as he's trying to move this rover into a position where he can do something with it. And it might be too late. The hey your head, Gervais are in fact not really doing anything right now. And the smoke might actually work against Viva right now, as this is providing excellent cover for his tanks to actually move across and grab all these targets. Every single one of these targets. This Leopard, these AT, none of these guys are able to fire on any of these tanks, all because the smoke is obstructing view. We're going to see some artillery fire here, which, no, it's more smoke is what we're going with here, yes. T-72 does take out the vehicle. The Leopard is moving back forward, but the damage is already done. He was a little bit late for the battle. T-72 finally get wiped out by this Hayer Hezermet, and the Leopards will in fact be able to get it. Obstruction has ended. Speaking of which, things have kind of shifted a little bit here. 60 U.S. Marines were able to get across here, and now there's only 13 left, so that's... I think that's something. And Leopard's able to actually creep in the woods here from Tomos Camilla. We're back to balance, by the way. Thought that was fun to point out. There was a command here. It was wiped out. There should be another one coming out from somebody, but that will be soon. Oh, looky. Rebar is doing the Sneakster maneuver. This is the classic Sneakster maneuver. Nobody ever suspects it. Most people try to do it early game. Like super early game, the first 5 minutes. Because it's perceived that if you do this in the first 5 minutes, nobody will know. Nobody's going to know. You're being super sneaky. But actually, it's really smart to do this mid-game. Because if you do this mid-game, it works out pretty well. And this is as close to an amphibious landing as we're going to have in Wargame AirLand battle. And these are actually Jesus freaks here. Because if you notice, 3 of them are actually standing on the water here. So, amphibious landing here by Rebar, as he will be creeping his infantry along, maybe use his UAZ. And one of the great power moves in Wargame AirLand battle that's really cool is you use your infantry to spot, you keep your Blackhawks away and landed, so they're not very easy to spot, and then you move in your infantry to spot where their command vehicle is, and then you bring in your Blackhawk for support. Power combo, pretty good to do. Some Moto Strelkies getting caught in an unfortunate position. Napalm might actually just be ruining this game. Look how much freaking napalm is in here. I mean, honest to God, if they were just getting napalm, only napalm, they could trade so cost effectively with the entire army. And that's probably a good thing. And Trusty actually in the game. He's one of their better players, actually. And now it's down to a 3-3, I guess. Because Anoka left too. And actually, big +1 happening now for Team WUT. As Hezermet in the woods, gunning it against a helicopter, and probably will get it. It's kind of in a bad situation right now. It's just circling around. No one's really coming to support him. His transaxial is hit, and I can't really imagine what a transaxial would be. I assume it would be like the balancing mechanism, but I'm not a helicopter technician. Jaegers pushing through, able to actually get some, and this is a pretty good smoke here. This will allow for all vehicles to move forward without the Conquerors actually hitting them. Very good position. And middle is basically gone back to being completely secure. There are some infantry left being in here, but they've actually rallied enough infantry into the middle to actually keep it secure. And it's one of the weird things about team play, because if this was a 1v1 map, this match would be over so fast. Like, all these burning infantry, he just run out of infantry in his deck, and then the other guy would come in and sweep that area with his own infantry. But since it's a 4v4, it means that you can rally in 4 times as much infantry, and you really only need infantry on this part of the map. That's the only part of the map that really values infantry that much. Well, there's some other areas, of course. Nothing big. And look at this crazy higher map running around the circle, and oh my god. Thank you, Zadukin, for informing me that something's about to happen bad. Ranger Squad. Now, will he do the Blackhawk power combo? That's the big, and yes, it's lifting up. And this is what I'm talking about, because the Ranger just massively gets outspeeded by a vehicle. And realistically, the Ranger can only see. And if he doesn't actually, spot, if he can't catch it, then he's never going to be able to kill it. And we're seeing a single helicopter coming in here to deal with the Rangers. And just to note, they do in fact see this command here. The Blackhawk, going to add in a little bit of pepper here. There's actually a make here, but it's actually so close that he's going to have to spin around before he can do his thing. And there's a little bit of time window here for this Blackhawk. Blackhawk is, oh my god, is it Blackhawk down? He's firing. One more hit needed. Oh my god, 1 hit point left on it. Blackhawk is leaking fuel. It's got transaxial hit. It's got spinning up its last bit of guns here. It's got 1 hit point left in. No, 1 hit point left on this command vehicle. That's all he needed. And just not really enough. So close though. But he knows the position, so they can RD it. They can RD it to kill it. Absolutely. Speaking of which, Battle of the Middle has continued. Moto Strelky has once again inserted himself into this awkward, convenient location here. There were 60 of them, or 40 of them. There are now only 18 remaining, as they should be able to do quite a bit of damage. T-72 is coming in very, very close range here. Trying to use the added protection of the Moto Strelkys to help them. But actually, gonna go ahead and move too close, maybe? Looking a little bit close there, T-72s. And yes, this middle location is actually getting pretty bad pretty fast. And basically, the less players there are in the game right now, the better the tactic that WUT is using will work. Because what's happening for WTF for the win is they can replenish this with infantry because, truthfully, they don't need to use just one-person units. These are currently Rebar and Thomas Kamiya's units right here. Very soon, they could be just FIVA 55's units. Absolutely could be. Because you gotta remember the flank for Rebar is his top one. This isn't his flank. This isn't his job. And T-72 is actually just gonna push all the way in. The quality of the infantry that can be deployed here by Thomas Kamiya is very low. He's going with these assault engineers, which unfortunately don't do a ton of damage. They're a napalm infantry that are designed to take out other infantry. And in this situation, they're just not gonna do it. All of them are going to go ahead and die. We see some last-minute napalming happening here to try and create a last-minute barrier, but all these infantry will die. There's 30 Jaegers that have moved in. We should be seeing a leapfrog here from this Moto Strelky relatively soon from this location, maybe to this burning one here. And this is pretty bad for WTF FTW. They do have a current lead, but if there can be a pretty solid push in here, this could be a flip. We could see absolutely for the WUT clan to win this. And yes, there we go. See, the leapfrog has engaged. The Moto Strelky will be engaging all these assault engineers with support of the T-72s. And he has been throwing away some T-72s. I'm not going to pretend like these guys are amazing players who are just completely unstoppable. They actually are throwing away quite a bit of units here. And T-72s are getting burned through like mad, actually. I'm not sure if this is a last-minute push or what, but this is kind of madness. This is very unusual play here. In fact, the Moto Strelkys are getting hit by the wooded U.S. Marines of all people. And by wooded, I don't mean they're made of wood, but that they are in the forest and rock and heavy cover. All the technical people. And, ooh, lots of artillery fire happening here with support of the infantry. That's not going to be good. And all the Moto Strelkys will go down. The T-72s are all mostly destroyed. And we're looking at another pretty sizable failed push here by WUT. They had a great opportunity, but they kind of squandered it. The only infantry available here, realistically, for Thomas Kamiya right now is U.S. Marines. And they're not the best in the game by any means. They're just really cheap. Speaking of which, cavalry tank has arrived. Your BMP 685 cavalry tank. Adding a little bit of extra damage, but it doesn't look like it will be enough. I mean, they're doing tons of damage. They're firing lots of fire in all locations. But they're not gaining the ground. They need to get this command killed. They need to be able to get all these tanks through here, kill this tank, kill this command, rush through the middle, kill this mortar, kill this tank, rush across the side here, kill the double commands. Why are there two commands here? That's weird. Very weird. I'm assuming this was for a future plan that just never happened. A preparation that never properly planned for pompously. One more infantry will go down on this flank here. It looks like a lot of FIVA's flank has basically been null and void, and they're trying to just vie for the middle here, with FIVA just playing very defensively here. Denying this point, but not taking it. And speaking of denying, finally the T-80 UK, crazy powerful defense tank coming in with 23 armor. Not going to die as easily as other tanks. And we're seeing a crazy flank come in here. And I like to call them crazy flanks because they're not the flank that we've been seeing the entire game. This would have been a very risky move because you don't know how much AT is here. In fact, there's only the one AT here. And these tanks will continue creeping forward. And if they don't target right, they could just get swallowed up by a single AT. Yes, they target absolutely properly. Another AT will be moving forward as these tanks are running away from the absolute terrible intervention of tanks. We see smoke has been placed down here by Rebar. And I'm going to guess that eventually people are going to start associating this team with when they smoke something, that's where their command is. So we should arty it and bomb it. You know, that sort of thing. Because I guarantee you, if they keep doing that, which is smart, by the way. Like, computers do it. That's how smart it is. And computers are freaking really smart. Eventually people are going to catch on, like, yeah, that's where his command is. Because currently, when you look at the map, they don't know much. They don't have much intel compared to, you know, this. This is a lot of intel. They know a lot of stuff. A lot more stuff. The T-80U, in fact, actually going to go down to a bomber of all people. FIVA's going to throw away his air superiority fighter in exchange for a T-80U tank. Absolutely worth it. And why is this happening right now? I'm so confused how this BTR-60PB has gotten through, actually able to get within shooting range of this command vehicle. And if he can just get inside the smoke, which he has, and he just moves not into this group of units, just dead. Yeah, that's weird. I mean, commands are virtually invisible anyway. That's just, the fact that he's able to get through is kind of weird, and so this is going to prompt all the tanks to try and get through as well. Because the tanks can get through, and it feels like that explosion was just a little bit much for an empty truck. It feels like an over-the-top Hollywood effect, like, because honestly, you know, when you blow up a truck, it doesn't blow up like that. You'd have to strap explosives to your rockets to do that. So actually able to grab a little bit of this middle position, making WTF FTW very, very nervous right here. Actually able to napalm this area, completely get rid of this command armor, and we're back to stalemate. There's no guaranteed win right now. However, WTF FTW does have double the points. If we see a command vehicle placed here very, very soon, as in like right now, and held for 10 minutes. Let me do the math real quick. Yes. If they hold it for the next 10 minutes, and I think it's like actually like 8 minutes 32 seconds, 33 seconds. If they can hold it for exactly that long, they actually have a chance. But they got to get in there before the 8 minute 33 second marker, and they have to hold it for 8 minutes. It's a pretty brutal comeback. That's what I'm trying to say here. Actually, we're going to see double command vehicles being deployed here because why not? Why not put double command vehicles on a risky location? And truthfully, good spots would be like right here, and then have a second one like in the woods, kind of right here. Or right here. Those be good locations. Super Intendards? No, just normal Intendard. This is without the Super Nintendo brothers. Going to come in, and yes, he's going to place a command vehicle, and he's got the spare, keep in mind. And this is the magical point. They still have to keep pushing. That's one of the crazy things. They have to keep these numbers down. They got to get their infantry into the most forward town locations, grabbing all possible venues. They're now +1. They have a chance for a comeback. It wouldn't be so bad if they were to grab this point as well, because it looks like they're having lots of luck there. And with the push in the middle happening, it looks like this is signaled rebar to actually pull a command into this bottom location here, which of course is pretty well guarded. We have T-80Us, we have Redvetka, Spetsnaz, all kind of spotting for this. The command vehicle should not have much of a life to it. Should die relatively fast. There is one Leopard 2A4 here from FIVA protecting this location. And once again, this is just the awkward genius of this position here. If these tanks push too far across, he can have a flanking maneuver happen. Now keep in mind, there is a helicopter this time, so lessons have been learned. The flanking maneuver will come, but this helicopter should be able to deal with them pretty effectively. There is a command that's going to come in here and try and neutralize his points, as now we're seeing a +2 here from WTF FTW, and they've actually reclaimed the middle and they have Gulf. So it's most likely probable that we're actually at the point of no return right now. This is actually the point where WUT can't win. Where I'd just like to officially say WUT has officially lost. There's absolutely no human possible way for them to come back. It's mathematically impossible. They do have some pretty great positions in the middle, and that's all awesome. They've lost their command vehicle there, however, and that kind of sucks. And they're faced off against a command tank, which has been sitting there the whole game. It was right here not too long ago. This ship's been not being used. I'm not entirely sure why. And we're getting the signal for 1/3 of the game being over, but I guarantee you this game will probably be decided by time within the next 9 minutes, 17 seconds. Another command tank is going to get lifted down here as the other command vehicle goes down. Tomos going to be a double Leopard 2 command tanks getting down. And just willing to throw away as many of these command vehicles as possible, seemingly, just to get that position. This is what we're talking about here. He rallied some Hager Mets and some Chieftain Mark 10s into this position. And, you know, the only thing that has been able to stop them has been a single helicopter, which has the Kokon rocket. And, of course, there's this other one. And a pretty massive air splash, actually going to wipe out pretty well all the infantry here. We're going to see some more infantry rallying in here for GT5. He just wants to drop underneath these helicopters. That's all he's going for right now. Now, should they rally in? They should. Where are they? Oh, here they are. And actually grabbing them. He has this flank now. Still hasn't really taken at this wood location, of course, and the command will splash back down here, but quickly moves away, deciding, no, this is silly. Very, very silly. And Thief is an aggressive player. Like, he can just take this and just push and do damage. He can just rush in here, kill this Conqueror, and just go for it, which will force the hand. And yeah, that's it. No more can be done. I don't think we'll see a tap out. I just don't think that'll happen. Because one of the problems with Conquest is it is a mathematical game, and you can decide who wins and loses mathematically. Absolutely. It just, you know, they're getting +1 is +1 points every 3 seconds, so that's there. But because you're so intensively fighting for positions and grounds, you'll just never realize, like, it's over. Speaking of which, Command Tank actually killed by napalm. Actual first world problem just happened there. And that's actually why also they're at stalemate. All because of this middle location. T-72s kind of do a desperate push forward. They have maintained this position. They will be able to hold this position. And if they can get another command or two, if they can get this +2 command, they have a chance. That's the bottom line. They have to get rid of this +2 command. If they can get rid of that, that is awesome. And they can't just get rid of it. They have to keep it gone. Unfortunately, the +2 command is pretty well at the far end here. There isn't much defending it, which is great. But they're not really being super aggressive either. I mean, these BMP2s are just to rush through here where there is nothing. There is nothing. They were just firing at empty Humvees for funsies, I guess. There's nothing here. They could potentially still have a chance. They'd have to get this 2-point base and probably knock out this 1-point base. And does it feel like FIFA 55 just went AFK, captured this point, and just rallied out like 10 minutes worth of units? Like, it feels like that's just what happened, because it doesn't feel like you should be able to get this many units out this fast. He's actually going to do something he probably should have done a long time ago. Go into these woods, challenge that T-80U, challenge the units in here, because there's not too much actually in here. Of course, couldn't see that, and he's a very pushy type player. And yeah, I think this is over. BMPs, in fact, did fail. Not going to be good. Yeah, and also, you know, WTF FTW are also not looking at this saying like, yes, man, we won, we good, we won. They don't know they won yet. They won't know they've won until the match is over. It'll almost be a shocker. It's like, oh my god, we won? I can't believe that was almost impossible. It was like, day, mother gave me birthday present. I should be making racist Eastern European accents. Mostly because I'm bad at them. The people that I meet that actually have them are like the rednecks of Europe, and are not good, you know, clear-cut signals for that. I had this Croatian coworker. He talked like this. And I had a Polish one. He also talked like this. He said, you good. You very, very good. Speaking of which, push through the middle still pretty strong here. T-72s are just wiping out anything they can in the woods here. No, pretty decent veterancy on some of these T-72s. Not all the T-72s have been sacrificed. A lot of them actually have been sitting around and just kicking some butt. And the battle in the woods here is probably the only interesting thing that'll be left in this match. Just the final blow for this team. Everything's being wiped out. The T-80U is trying to desperately get away from this attack. And where are all the... BMPT, I never saw you. But the Sheridans are still being very, very effective here. Actually doing some pretty good work overall. And there's only one left. I mean, this should be a cut-clear victory. T-80U actually going to move back in the woods to try and take it out. Of course, we have a Corsair here with some evil firepower. Drops the napalm in the woods and burning the woods alive. Gonna kill maybe some vehicles here. It's hard to say, but it's definitely causing them to move out. And BGS, which probably stands for big guys, should get killed off by BMPT. Yes, they do. So, yeah. This is the inevitable loss. There's no magical comeback here. There's no Disney World. There's no fantasy land. This is a very, very good game for WTF FTW. We're seeing basically what ends up being the last ditch. Just moving up all your tanks, throwing them all away. In total destruction, or not in total destruction, but in normal destruction mode, this kind of maneuver here, this last minute play, can absolutely do stuff. Absolutely. A game could be 1,000 points apart, and one great tank push can bring you back. But unfortunately, in this game mode, it just doesn't operate this way. And truthfully, the map kind of tells the story. It's a sea of blue. You're looking at a complete blue surround here, and the red forces are just insanely concentrated right now. God, these guys are still so much playing. He's flagging down these T-80s, as I guess he's going to try and bomb them. Yeah. I'm just going to fast forward to the end because this is the exciting part. The last little tank push. Maybe we'll go into some cinematic massacre mode here as the tanks wheel through the fire here. Can't even see them actually. But they are getting fired upon by various rockets. Not the standard cover that you would select. Hiding in fire. And also these T-72s all on fire, going to get picked off by these Sheridans. And, you know, once again, our heroes here, the Yuggers, men and women. Men and women. Well, actually just men. There's no women in this game. Women in the army, of course. That's ridiculous, right? God, you have to deal with the various peoples of various countries' problems with women in the army. Speaking of which, finally cleared this location. He has a pretty awesome flank moving here. Can easily take it to T-80A. There is a last-minute helicopter all in. This is European escalation all over again. This is like European escalation 101. How do you win a game last minute? You get a whole bunch of helicopters. You rush them forward. Not quite going to work here. Last few seconds, comments from me. Great game. Well played to both players. Unfortunate 2 players dropped from the game, 1 from each team. And yeah, WUT will move down to the losers bracket. Not entirely sure who they're going to play yet. And since this is the first match of the winners bracket, WTF FTW will have a nice little week off to play the game. My name is Troublemaker. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this 50-minute match, and I'll see you guys for the next one.